It was sometime in the middle of January 1965 when I began thinking about the inauguration of LBJ. And I approached Yvette and said, I've been thinking about going to Washington to the inauguration. What do you think? Oh, she said, that's exciting. Let's see if we can get accommodations and so on. I said, I'm going to call Jerry Jackson. Jerry was my patient and close friend and a closer friend of LBJ. I called him. I said, Jerry, we're thinking of going to the inauguration. Can you help us? He said, what inauguration do you want? You want to go to Austin for governor, or do you want to go for LBJ? I giggled and said, of course, I want to be at LBJ's inauguration. He said, just a minute, I'll call you back, see if I can get you a room at the hotel where I stay. He came back on the phone. He said, I spoke to the Mayflower management. I've got you a room. Come to Washington as soon as you can. We packed. I got plane reservations, and soon we were on our way to Washington. We arrived at the hotel. Jerry met us, helped us register, and took us up to our room. The room was not very big. In fact, it was almost filled by the bed itself, but we didn't care. Jerry said, get yourself something to eat. We're going to the gala tonight. I asked him what the gala was about. He said, it's the entertainment industry putting on performances to show their appreciation of LBJ. It was cold that night, put on heavy coats, and went to some auditorium. There was a porte cochere to protect us from the wind and snow. We were met by Barbara Walters. Barbara said to me, should I know you? And I deflected her and said, I don't think you should know me, but you should know my wife. He spoke to her. I don't know what they said, but pretty soon we went into the auditorium and found ourselves seated on the floor in a group with the Johnson family. We had soft chairs, and up in the balcony sat the rest of the guests. The one I remember most was I can't remember it now. He played Captain Ahab. He and his wife were there. Pretty soon the orchestra played a few tunes, and then the entertainment began. First was Barbra Streisand, who sang several beautiful songs. I don't much care for her, but her singing was inspired, and she sang several songs and a couple of encores. Next was Nureyev, the ballet dancer who had defected from the Bolshoi while they were on tour in America. And he danced the ballet piece from The Corsair, whirling himself around the stage till he was glistening with sweat. The third piece that I remember was by a Mexico from ballet in Mexico City. He was dressed in an Indian costume and waving, rattling noisemakers, flinging himself around the stage in what was called a dying deer. He kept going around and around and around until he finally collapsed, carrying out the theme of his death. Those were all that I remember, but they were highly unusual. When we got home back to the hotel, Jerry said to me, tomorrow you'll be my guests at the executive club for luncheon. Try to be on time because I've got the place reserved, so I'll see you at noon. I promised we'd be on time. We went up to our room and got into nightclothes, and we both realized how tired we were. The hurry up getting ready in Houston, the plane flight, the excitement all going on. We had not had a real chance to rest. We got into bed. It was now about 2 o'clock, and we both looked forward to luncheon the next day. I didn't feel like asking the hotel operator to give me a call. I had always relied on my internal clock to get me awake and to make me on time for all appointments. I turned out the light and both of us fell asleep in a very short time. When I next awakened, I looked at the clock. It was 11:45. We had to be at the luncheon in 15 minutes. I had overslept mightily. I awakened Yvette, and we dressed as fast as we could, hurried down to the front of the hotel for a taxi, and said to the driver, "Take us to the executive club." He and I added, "We're late. Can you get there fast?" He said, "Sure." So he took off, and we sped through Washington streets and stopped at a sign of a structure that said Executive Club. Strangely, there were no cars around. There were no people standing around. There was no traffic in the kind, and I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. Something was wrong. The cab driver ran up the steps to the club, went inside, and came back out and said, "There's no luncheon party here." I said, "What goes on?" He said, "I know there's another executive club. I'll take you there." So we piled into the car, and he took off. We got to the other executive club, and yes, this was the right place. There were cars. There was a doorman. There was a lot of traffic, and we knew this was the right place. I helped Yvette out of the car, and we went up the steps, but I ran ahead of her. I just had to get there before her to make excuses to Jerry. I got into the dining room, and there was Jerry chewing on a cigar, and he wasn't looking happy. Mary, his wife, was beside him. She was okay. She could smile. She hadn't made the arrangements, and she wasn't one to be disappointed. There were two other guests. One was Charlie Herring, a state senator at Austin, and his wife, Doris. I made my apologies to Jerry, and he didn't say anything. He didn't smile. And then Yvette came in. She just looked stunning. She was made up, as usual, with very good care. She was wearing a long, light-colored wool suit with trimming collar and down to the hem of the coat. And then she had on a Russian fur hat. She was stunning. Jerry looked at her. His scowl disappeared. He said, "Let's sit down and eat." And luncheon was a success. We did a lot of other things at the inauguration dinner, inauguration ball, and the inauguration parade. And then we saw the inauguration itself. But nothing stands out as our excited luncheon, late but stunningly excited.